Hey, welcome to Trap Souls Podcast, TS Paranormal Productions, whatever you want to call it. I am here with Theresa from Theresa's Haunted History of the Tri-State. So how are you, Theresa?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So Tri-State, Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, right?
Uh, that's the tri-state I'm in.
So where are you actually from?
So I live in Putnam County, which is right between Charleston and Huntington. So I've normally most of the groups that I've worked with have operated out of Huntington, which has led me to, really research the tri-state area because we're right there on the border of Kentucky and Ohio as well.
Yeah, it's you talked about like working with other groups. Are you a solo, I guess, entity then?
Um, yes and no. So I operate Teresa's Haunted History of the Tri-State, which is a blog that explores the Fortean history of West Virginia and beyond. And that's all me. That's all my research, all my writing. Nobody else does the blog part with me. But I'm also a paranormal investigator. Since I started doing this over 22 years ago, I have worked with different groups in the tri state area. I was a founding member of Spectral Research and Investigations. Unfortunately, I left that last year, but it was meant to be because a couple months later, I was asked to join Appalachian Ghost Tours.
Okay.
So I've been working with Appalachian Ghost Tours for a little under a year now. And we're not your typical ghost hunting group. What we do, it's the business side of things. So we partner with different historic haunted locations throughout southern West Virginia and surrounding areas. And we work with these locations to offer public ghost hunts. So we let the public come in, we generally feed them dinner, let them know about the history, the hauntings of the location, and then they're allowed to bring their own equipment or use our equipment. And we ghost hunt these locations. And it's been a lot of fun and it's been really awesome to be able to not only, help these haunted historic locations, bring in some, much needed funding to get, people to learn about the history of these locations. But just to, to see people being excited. For a lot of people, this is their first foray into ghost hunting, and we get to be a part of that and do a little bit of good for the community as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool when you have first timers there because they don't, again, they watch TV shows, they think everything's scary.
Mhm.
Once they realize it's not scary, it's actually fun. It's kind of cool to see that, I guess, evolution of, paranormal investigators.
Yeah, and we really do try to make it fun because I've done the traditional ghost hunting for so long, and it is a lot of it's just sitting there, not, just talking to thin air in the dark for hours, and then hours and hours of analyzing data, looking through frame by frame of video and frame by frame audio evidence. So luckily, the public doesn't have to do that if they don't want to, but they get to see kind of the fun side of it and kind of get to really know the history of these places as well. That's my big thing. I'm a historian.
So, what came first, paranormal or history for you?
For me,
Yeah.
oh gosh. Okay. So I've always been interested in, history in general, but it really took off when I started into paranormal investigation. Because I started back, oh, this is a long time ago. But back in my blog has been around in some form since 2006. And the reason that the blog got started, because I was working with a group called Huntington Paranormal. And this is right as the cusp of like, Taps was coming on TV. So we were really trying to do things properly, and we wanted everybody to have a role in the group, somebody to do our media, somebody to contact these locations. Well, they needed somebody to do the historical research for these locations. And the only thing that I really had going for me was I had a lot of time, and I also I have a background as a paralegal. I have a paralegal degree, so I know my way around a courthouse and can do a mean title search. So I was like, yeah, okay, I guess I can be the historical research manager for you. And that's how it got started. I know that this is maybe a little bit controversial, but so back when I started doing this, there weren't a whole lot of places that you could go online to find haunted places to investigate, especially if you were a new investigator. There was a pretty big one, and it was still around. It's the shadowlands.net. So Shadowlands is a great resource, but the problem was, especially back then, it's all crowdsourced. So anybody that had a computer, an internet connection, could submit haunted locations to the site. And so when you would go through the list of, okay, what's haunted in West Virginia, you found some things that the history was extremely wrong. This was absolutely, positively not factual at all.
Yeah.
But then you had these other places, and it was like, okay, if you're looking for places to investigate, how are you going to find this place? Because it wasn't a location that was even open to the public. It wasn't even a location that had a real address. I mean, literally, you'd go through and it's like, well, in the middle of Roane County, past, Meemaw's farm, there's a barn, and go out that, past the brown cow by the barn, and somebody hung themselves out there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I can probably do better. So that's how my blog kind of got started, was that I was trying to find these places and do some actual research to see, what the real history was and if there were places that we could actually even visit. And it kind of spiraled out of control since then.
That's good. I mean, yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, I've been on some maps trying to figure out, where to find, and you like click on it. Yeah, it's cool, but you got to trespass to get there. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe if I was younger, didn't have a family, I don't mind jumping a fence, but you got to think about life too. So,
exactly.
no, that's good that you're doing a blog and trying to, again, there's a lot of places out there that you can't, even to this day, they're hard to find. Um,
Yeah.
Anime's on. Hello, anime. Appalachian Ghost Tours. Theresa is amazing. I'm finding that out right now. And Michael, dinner. Ryan needs to step up his game. No, very good. I'm supplying dinner in my next investigation, so
Cool.
that's fine. No, anyways, so paranormal wise, what really interests you in it besides the history?
So in the whole paranormal realm, I am very lucky that I live in West Virginia. West Virginia is a very weird state. We have some of the most haunted locations, in the country, if not the world. But we also have some of the strangest UFO cases and some of the strangest monster encrypted cases. And that really, when you start talking to West Virginia researchers, that all plays a big role together. We kind of feel we all work together pretty well. We all know each other because a lot of us really feel that, at least these three aspects of the paranormal are very super tied in together. And that's why I kind of call myself a Fortean historian on my blog. I talk about not only haunted places, regular ghost hunting, articles and such, but I really deep dive into the history of everything that's weird in our state. But it really started for me with the ghosts and hauntings. That is my bread and butter. That is what I am most interested in. I love the history part aspect of it. And in conjunction with that, I love how that plays in with, our folklore and culture as a whole, and just, how it has shaped, the Appalachian people. Um, I am very interested in the tech. We still try to keep a very scientific approach to everything. But we kind of like to look at paranormal investigation as kind of a three-prong approach. You got to have the stories. You got to have the history to back up those stories. And if we can get some evidence to back up both of those, that is the perfect trifecta. So I'm interested in pretty much all aspects of the paranormal.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm doing a research project on poltergeist. Oddly enough, West Virginia doesn't have a whole lot of poltergeist stories. One of our most famous historic hauntings is probably a poltergeist. The Wizard of, Wizard Clip, West Virginia. But we really don't have a whole lot of like modern poltergeist stories.
So, I mean, you talk about tech and all that. I mean, tech is great. I mean, it
Mhm.
does, help create evidence, but anybody that's been doing this for, 15, 20 years, we all did it. We got all the new gadgets and blah, 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 spent a whole bunch of money on new stuff. But it seems like we're just going back to where we started to.
And it really is. I was just talking about this to a class I did at a high school yesterday. It's like we have all this cool stuff. Most of it is adapted from other areas of science to try to maybe show us that a ghost doesn't necessarily exist, but that there's a disruption in what we're analyzing that maybe will show us that something's there. But honestly, with all of the technological advances, the best techniques and even the best science behind it goes all the way back to Harry Price. So we're still haven't really gotten any further than the 1920s.
Yeah. I mean, dowsing rods are still cool.
Yeah.
Um, Good old fashioned recorder. It's
Hmm.
pretty much what I roll with is a recorder and a camera. That's it. I mean,
I think EVP evidence on the voice recorder is probably some of the best evidence that you're going to get. It's the hardest to try to, like debunk. If you're actually hearing something and you've got the area under video surveillance and that's not somebody in the room talking, then I mean, you've really probably got something there.
what I like about it is like you have the trip rope, you have EMF and all that fun stuff, and you see the lights go and that. But when you hear a voice and it changes, it's not the same voice. It could be a female, it could be a male, it could be, I think that makes it more personal when you're
Yeah.
listening. Like when you see a female, like, come here, like, what the heck? You hear a guy, get out of here. It's kind of cool when you hear those different voices. It makes it more real to me.
One of the best EVPs I ever got was a residential case. And we honestly didn't think that anything was there. There was a lady who was grieving the death of her brother. So we had the only men that were on the team were outside at the time. The only people that were in the entire house were women. And I just asked the question, addressed to the brother, do you have a message for your sister? Not one man in that entire house. And it is a very distinct male voice. And it is a very particular Southern accent from that area that said, I want to say bye. And so we played it for her. We didn't tell her what to look for. We didn't tell her what we thought it was. She heard it and immediately burst into tears. And she
Oh,
said, that is absolutely my brother's voice saying goodbye.
wow, that's tough there. I
Yeah,
mean,
it was.
that's cool though. I mean, it gives closure. That's what we're here for. So,
Yeah, I hope that gave her some comfort
yeah.
that he was okay. And
So, you talked about West Virginia, and this is always going to be an argument till whenever being one of the most haunted states. And when I started this podcast 6 months ago, there was a time where I'm like, let's have a battle of the states on a podcast. It didn't quite take off. I probably didn't push it hard enough because Ohio is considered very haunted. Pennsylvania is considered very haunted.
yeah.
Texas, they
Mhm.
claim they're very haunted. Those are the main states. I know West Virginia has a lot, especially when you come to cryptid UFO sightings. But how can you compare yourself to like UK?
Exactly. And I do like to say, when people are like, do compare West Virginia to the hauntings of UK. Well, a lot of our Appalachians originally came from, England, Wales, Scots, Ireland. So we have a lot of those stories brought over and a lot of that culture that has made up Appalachia. And, we have the Appalachian Mountains that were arguably they're the oldest mountain range that may have been actually part of that area before we all split apart. So I think that we don't have the same amount of history in regards to how long we've been populated, but I think we've got some of the similar characteristics that make both locations pretty haunted.
Yeah, I think the one issue with West Virginia, it's so spread out too, like population wise.
Yeah. There are whole counties where the population is so low that it's crazy.
Yeah. So, have you been to Old Hospital on College Hill?
I have. That is probably one of my top 10 locations I've been to. That's a really fun one.
Yeah,
We weren't the first team to investigate, but we were one of the first 5 teams to investigate when they first opened.
yeah, they're trying to finish that nursing school up.
I can't wait. That is a really cool building itself.
I know we were there in the summer. I had them on the podcast, Charlie and Tanya.
Hmm.
I'm like, I better get a text before this thing opens up. Like, I need to get down there because
Yeah.
Charlie says it's pretty cool in there. It's just unsafe right now. I don't think there's a lot to do there besides like the roof, which is a lot inexpensive, but their plan is to restore that. And interesting enough, he believes that's the only nursing college still open, standing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The team that they built. So
Huh.
it'll be cool to see that. So what else in West Virginia? I mean, you got Moundsville. What else is there in
So
West Virginia?
Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is our other really, really big one, of course.
Yeah, I've been there.
Lake Shawnee is a really popular one.
So
As far as popular ones go, those are our real big ones.
what was it, Lake Shawnee? Is that the amusement park?
Yeah, that's in Mercer County towards the southern part of the state.
Is that open to like private investigations? I never really looked into it.
Yeah, so the former owner passed away several years ago, and for a couple of years it was really kind of hard to get a hold of anybody to get in there. But now you just send the Facebook message, page a message, and they're really good about offering private investigations. They do have some public events throughout the year if you just really kind of watch for it. And last June, Appalachian Ghost Tours, we hosted a full haunt fest there, complete, with vendors and speakers and workshops, and then concluding with the investigation of the property at nighttime.
Oh, that's cool. I mean,
It was great.
let's talk about your blog a little more. So
Sure.
you started that, and is this mainly about history and haunted places, or how far do you go into this?
Okay, so it started very, very simply. It started off on free webs back in 2006. And it was mainly for my group, but then my group was like, yeah, we should probably share this with the general public. So it was a picture of a haunted location in West Virginia, a brief paragraph about the history of it, and then some links for more information. And that became so popular that the free website, I would run out of bandwidth within like the first week of the month. So I was like, oh, something's got to change here. So then I eventually went to Blogger in 2011, and you can really tell like what I'm interested in. Depending on what I'm writing about on any certain time, and also how my skills as a researcher have evolved, since 2006. Because now I do a lot of research on genealogy sites, out of print books, microfiche, newspaper articles, anywhere where I can get information. And I really, really pick a haunted location and deep dive behind it as much as possible and try to get that historical documentation. But it also goes, like I said, anything that I get really excited about and want to learn about, then it's usually on the blog too. So there are UFO sightings, mostly historic. There are monster sightings. Um, there's even, articles about certain aspects of paranormal investigation, just anything that has to do with the paranormal. And it doesn't even have to be in West Virginia. I've kind of expanded throughout. at one point I went through a phase where I loved learning about Japanese yokai, and so I have a lot of Japanese related articles on the blog. But mainly it's about, West Virginia because that's my hometown. So I love my crazy state that we live in.
West Virginia is beautiful. I mean, if you haven't driven through West Virginia, I mean, it's a beautiful state to drive through and visit.
Yeah, it can be a little scary, but it's beautiful. And I love to travel, but I always like to come home too.
Yeah. One thing I want to touch is like you talked about getting stuff out there. So I started this about 20 years ago, investigating. Again, like I said, it's hard to find stuff. People kept stuff secret because they thought
Yeah.
it was kind of like their little secret.
Mhm.
I don't know if they were trying to get ahead of the game, like, because Taps was out. Like, oh, if I know this, no one else does. Maybe I'll get a TV show. Like, but I've seen a change in the last like 5 years of people sharing places. I mean,
Exactly. And, to be honest, I probably was guilty of that as well starting out. So the first group that I was really, a part of, we kind of had a monopoly over a whole neighborhood of haunted locations. And it wasn't that we were like, well, we're the only ones that can investigate this. It was that we worked our butts off to make the contacts. We had to join several different historical societies. We even started doing Civil War reenacting, just so we could get our foot in the door with these groups that ran these locations and to, establish that rapport, to make these connections. And then people would come along and they're like, can you give us, the name and we're like, okay, well, here's the contact information. And the people would be like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm interested. And they would be like, well, can you get us in? And we're like, we can only do so much. I mean, we're not trying to monopolize these areas, but we put in the hard work. We're not just going to vouch for you when we don't even know who you are.
yeah.
Um, and with the information sharing too, that's something that I have personally kind of struggled with because I find my research all over the web all the time, and even in books that are written with maybe 25% of the time I am credited with the person that has done the research. And I know you can't copyright history and, even like these popular stories that have been passed down, but I see my work quoted word for word a lot. And I'm like, dude, if you're gonna like rip off my stuff and not even like give me credit for it, at least like fix my typos. I mean, because I know exactly like, oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. Maybe I shouldn't claim that that's mine, but yeah, I get my stuff ripped off a lot. So I kind of understand it on one side, keeping this stuff, to myself, but again, that's that's not helping further the field. That's not, and that's why I'm so open today with like kind of sharing stuff. Like I want people to have the correct information. I want the correct stories told. Now, whether you want to believe that or not, that's different. Because there are some places that I have found conflicting information for their most beloved and revered ghost stories. And when you kind of tell people, hey, that ghost that you've been telling everybody, that never happened, they're not too happy about it.
I think that's, well, two things in that statement that you just talked about. Like, yeah, it sucks getting ripped off. I mean, you're doing a history to get the history out. People are claiming probably to be theirs, but you put hours, probably days
Oh, yeah.
into this research. And that's terrible. But again, on the other side, you're getting a history out of there,
Yeah.
out to the public. So that's hard. It's a hard balance. Like, yeah, I don't blame you for being mad. But again, you're getting information out too. So I don't know.
Yeah, and,
That's
and hopefully, people are, seeing that, whether it comes directly from me or through somebody else, and they are getting that correct history and a better understanding of what's actually happening.
yeah. And then let's talk about stories, because that's one of my biggest issues is these places we go, And if you revisit over and over and over, the stories have changed.
Yeah.
And that's what bothers me a lot. Like I do Madison Seminary a lot.
Hmm.
And I first time 20 years ago, it's kind of how where it started. None of the stories besides Sarah's room are the same. Now there's different ghosts, there's different everything there. So, what's true, what's not, it's because one person got a feeling or a psychic medium came in there and said, there's a little girl over here. So now everybody think there's a little girl over there. So,
Exactly. Um, and that's the thing with Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum too. That one of their most famous stories is the little girl Lily. And you ask, where did this name Lily come from? A psychic picked up on the name Lily. And we hold that as like gospel, in the paranormal field, that there is a little girl named Lily there. And I try to be very open minded. I know a lot of people, I work with a lot of people who are very accurate with what they can pick up. But, even people who are very accurate, this is something that is psychic abilities, sensitivity is something that is very, very open to interpretation.
yeah.
And it's not infallible. And to base all of our lore off of, oh yeah, this girl is named Lily because a psychic said her name was Lily, is crazy to me.
Is that the girl that's looking for its mom?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't get anything in that room. I've been to Trans-Allegheny twice. Like that's one places I never got anything. No, but like, yeah, medium psychics. I always tell them like, I'm not going to say you're right or wrong because I don't know. I can't. I'm not a psychic. I can't go in your mind. But try to validate it with evidence to back it up. That's all I ask.
Yeah, it's just another piece to the puzzle. And,
Yeah.
then if we get a name, then we try to do due diligence and, see if we can prove, is there somebody associated with that name?
Yeah. I mean, all the evidence in the paranormal, I don't like calling it evidence. I call it interesting is, always could, I guess you could debunk, not debunk, but make an argument. I mean, we got REM pods, EMFs, even EVPs. You can make an argument.
Hmm.
And it's just, we will never know the truth, but hopefully we can get some stories right and tell the stories, and that'll make the spirits happy because that's what they
Yeah.
want. Majority of spirits out there, I believe, just want their story out there and for it to be correct.
And
So,
that's kind of, the motto that I've always had for my website, that I will speak for those who can't speak for themselves.
yeah. So I'm a little different when I do investigations. I do not do history and I do not do walkthroughs before I go
Mhm.
into a place. The famous places like Old Hospital in College Hill, Trans-Allegheny, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
I like going in there with an open mind. I don't want to know names. I don't want to know nothing. So when I do find evidence, then I can take that back to whoever and say, hey, this is the name I got. And they're like, oh, yeah, they've been here forever. Okay, that just validates it. But I think our minds are so strong if you have names and have certain things that you're going to not imagine, but believe that that's what you heard. So,
And I mean, to go off on kind of a crazy tangent, I think when we do have some of those names and stories, and that bias going in, that we're almost creating, these stories like a tulpa or thought form. You go in and you start asking, is so and so here? Is, and thinking, okay, who this person is. Are you creating, that haunting yourself? Um, I know it's kind of like the whole tulpa and thought form thing is a little crazy, but it's there's a pretty popular location here in West Virginia, where a death is talked about a lot, and there is no documentation that that death ever occurred, but people have interacted with that spirit in the place where they said it happened at. And I think that it's because so many, like hundreds of people have visited this and tried to talk to the spirit there, and they get what they consider evidence of it. And I think it's because they're creating it themselves psychically.
I mean, how many times do you see like we'll just use a REM pod for example. You go in there, we'll say Sarah. There's a Sarah, I think 90% of haunted locations, there's a ghost Sarah. Whatever.
Always a Sarah.
It's always a Sarah. You put a REM pod in there, like, Sarah, are you here? Sarah, is that you? And it goes off. Oh, it must be Sarah.
Yeah.
What if it's a spirit saying, like, I'm not Sarah, like trying to, it's not me. So are you really just pissing that ghost off? Like, but we always spin it like, oh, this is Sarah. Oh, did you die here? Like, what? We don't know. Maybe she's saying no. I mean,
Yeah.
so, I mean, yeah, we create a lot of stuff. We could be right. I mean, you don't know, but it is. That's why I like EVPs. You get more direct answers.
Yeah.
Or even Spirit Box is pretty. I like the Spirit Box too.
We've had some hilarious stuff come across the Spirit Box over the years. It's always fun.
Yeah. Do you guys do Estes a lot, or?
We do, and we also like to do double Estes. So we'll have two people go under, and it's like they're talking back and forth to each other, having a full conversation.
That's starting to get a lot popular. Double
Yeah.
Estes.
We at one of the locations we did not too long ago. So we had a group that was getting some information that seemed to portray that there was two spirits there, a man and a woman, and the woman was afraid to move on because she and her partner were never legally married. So we had a couple that volunteered to stand in, and we had another person that was an ordained minister, and we had the couple both go under Estes together, and we had them like have a ghost wedding, and it was hilarious because they were saying things that sounded like they were trying to say their vows. The woman was very gung-ho about it, but the ghost man was kind of like, he wasn't as on board as she was. But it was hilarious, and that's just kind of one of the things that we do to, just as an experiment to see, what kind of information can we get by, doing something crazy like having a ghost wedding.
That's funny though. I mean, that's never even thought about that. I'm coining it right now. I'm doing triple Estes next time. Everybody's doing double. I gotta do triple. No, I mean,
Gotta raise the bar up.
I raised the bar. No, I'm doing a solo coming up in a basement in a few days. Supposedly evil spirits down there. So I love creepy basements. So I'm gonna go down there. 3 to 4 hours by myself. No one will be at the house for first couple hours. Then I have another group coming.
Nice.
I might do an Estes with them.
Mhm.
Like, they can be upstairs, I'll be downstairs. Turn my phone on speaker, and maybe they can ask questions that way. I don't know.
And that's another thing we've kind of experimented with too, is to have a walkie-talkie in a sealed room with a voice recorder and ask questions, that way and see if we can get anything.
No, I mean, I think everything, you have to try a lot of different stuff. And that's why we have all the equipment. Spirits sometimes don't want to talk into EVPs or spirit box or know how to hit the, REM pod.
Mhm.
Sorry, my phone just went off. But just, it's good to have the different equipment because you never know how they're going to respond.
Yeah,
That being
exactly.
said, it's good to have different people too.
Yeah, because I've definitely seen, the whole atmosphere of a location change just based on who was there.
Okay, so I ask this a lot. Not a lot, but plenty of time. So places we investigate are early 1800s, early 1900s. Women seem to get a lot more reactions.
I have been chastised for wearing pants before. I get told a lot that I'm very bossy and that I need to shut my mouth and to be quiet.
Did you show your ankles? That's bad. I'm telling you right now.
Well, one time I did, just out of complete, defiance. I was like, "Hey, you think it's bad? Check this out."
No, I mean, people don't understand like who we're talking to or trying to speak to is like they look down at women back in the day.
Yeah.
They get a lot. I mean, Estes methods, we seem to get a lot when we go to older places that a woman will come through the Estes method, but a man will come over and try to shut them up.
Exactly. We've also gotten that a lot, that, that a woman will be trying to speak and we absolutely hear a woman or a man's voice like speaking over her. And, we try to, like, please let her come through, ask her if there's another way she can come through. Um, but yeah, we've gotten some crazy stuff, and it seems like there is a point in the evening where um the more crass kind of entities start coming out because we start getting some slurs and some not so nice four-letter words.
Yeah, I was doing I guess evidence review because someone asked me to, like, hey, did you hear this moan? I'm not going to say where we were at, so I reviewed it, and it was a racial slur, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm not posting this. Like, sorry, like I just can't do that.
Yeah.
But I had her listen to it, and she was like, wow. I'm like, yeah, that's. But back in the day, that's how they talked.
Yeah, and so, like, and you know that that's not coming over any radio station,
Yeah,
in 2025.
yeah,
So, yeah, we've had some people of different ethnicities on our investigations, and we've had some not so kind words come through.
yeah. I mean, that's one thing. Like we talk about shows. Like I love watching Ghost Brothers. Some of the places they go, like into the slave quarters and everything, and I mean, it has to stir some stuff up. I mean, I don't even think it stirs it up. I mean, because you're talking slave quarters, and who's mainly investigating, not racially doing whatever, but it's mostly white people that are going in there and asking all these stupid questions, and they don't want to hear from us. Let's be honest, because back in the day we were bad. I mean, that's the way we were. So no, it's kind of neat how they go and investigate, step into that role, and they get a lot of great stuff. I love watching their show. I wish they were on more, but TV, Discovery, Ghost Adventures,
Yeah,
kind of did all that.
that should kind of put the yeah, they blocked out a bunch of really good smaller shows that were
Yeah,
trying to steal.
I'm glad like Project Fear stepped up and did YouTube. I still like watching them, but
Yeah.
what is the most terrifying experience you've ever had in paranormal investigation?
I was thinking about this yesterday because one of the kids that I talked to asked me this, and I honestly don't know. Um, because I don't have like that fight or flight fear response. I have like the kind of a freeze response, and that kind of allows me to assess the situation in the second that I'm frozen. And I've never had anything that was really malevolent or mean or really scary happen to me. Now I've been startled a couple times. Yeah, somebody pops out from an open door. We've got a couple people on our team that are absolute ninjas, and you'll think that they're one place in the building, and then they'll pop up right in front of you. And it's like, oh my gosh, did you teleport here? Um, but honestly, I don't. Nothing that on an investigation have I been absolutely terrified of. I have been concerned before because a couple of times I've had what I've thought was my mom come through over the spirit box. And I was like, that's probably not her. That might be something trying to mimic her, and we're not gonna play that.
Yeah,
We're just gonna ignore that.
I mean, it's weird talking to a lot of these groups now. Like, I always ask them the same question: like, has there ever been a time where you're like, "Why am I doing this?" type situation? Same response. Like, yeah, they might have been startled. I've had a time once that I took a step back, Trans Allegheny, but I was like, no, and I chased it.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do. Chase it. I don't know, but there's never been really a time like I questioned myself because I do believe 90% of spirits are just people trying to talk.
Yeah. And I've got that like mama bear mentality too. So if something is kind of bothering somebody else on my team, I mean, that will come out and I'll be like, no, we're not doing this. We're respecting you. You better respect us, or there's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah, I mean, I always bring up Madison Seminary, but I talked about this before. Like, the third floor was a women's psychiatric. The doctor up there supposedly wasn't too nice. Did a lot of bad stuff up there.
Mhm.
And when I send girls up there, they get bad experiences when they're by
Mhm.
themselves. So when they usually mess with something, then I will go out there.
Yeah.
And just like in real life, when a male is dominant to females, they're not dominant to males. They're
Yeah.
scared. So that's when I go out there. Like, hey, dude, I'm here. Like, let's rock and roll. Nothing ever. Nothing ever. So
Yeah.
no, it's fun. Uh, yeah, everybody has that moment where I don't think you question yourself ever of why you're doing this. If you're questioning yourself, then you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, and I've been doing this for well over 20 years, and there's never been a time where I've seriously considered leaving this field. And, maybe I've just been very, very lucky with, not ever encountering anything that's made me feel that, oh, maybe I should get out of this. Um, quite the opposite. I feel like this is exactly where I need to be.
Do you ever get that? Because when you first started, you always get that eerie feeling. I mean, from me, like that nervous feeling that, like, I don't want to walk into that place, or I'm a little nervous going into that place. But as the years went on, that's gone away.
Mhm. I mean, there are still places, and a lot of times it's places that I've never been to, and on the way there, I'll feel like, okay, there's a little bit of apprehension here. Um, I don't, and there are some places that even though nothing like, bad has ever happened to me or, made me feel really upset or anything, there are some places that do just feel uncomfortable. And it's like, okay, I'm here to do a job, what is making me uncomfortable? Is it the fear of the unknown walking into this location, or is there something, actually affecting me this way? So every once in a while I do still kind of like, okay, but yeah, just I'm always excited. I've never been like, oh man, do I really want to go talk to ghosts today? It's like, yes, I do.
No, I'm like, yeah, I'm talking about. So, do you think that's less now? That feeling is less than when you first started?
I don't know because when I first started this, like I had no fear at all of anything, and I think like just being older has made me, and I don't think it's fear. I think it is. Um, And it's not even probably like fear of like anything paranormal. It's just like, okay, or if we're gonna find something, and is there gonna be like a living person in here that shouldn't be here? Is somebody gonna do something they shouldn't? But yeah, I'd probably say that over the years, it has lessened. But I mean, I never really had it to start with. I was always like, yeah. Um, I When I was 9 years old, we moved into a house that was supposed to be haunted, and that was where my mom lived up until her death. And she always had problems there for the 30 some years that she had lived there. But when I first moved in that house, that is what prompted me to really get into this field because there was some crazy stuff going on and that we couldn't explain. And it was kind of terrifying when I was 9 years old to see a man that I didn't know who it was walking down my hallway at night. And all kinds of different stuff was happening. And so I would tell people, "Hey, I think my house is haunted," and they'd be like, "Oh, no, it's not. You need to get, your plumbing checked or your electricity checked." And I was like, "Well, maybe not everything that we're experiencing is paranormal. Sure, the lights going off on themselves, even maybe like the doorbell ringing by itself in the middle of the night when nobody's there. Yeah, these could be electrical issues. It wasn't an electrical issue that caused that man to walk down my hallway. There is no electrical or plumbing or, it wasn't a big, rat or something walking down the hallway. That was something. So I wasn't happy with these like blanket explanations. And that's when I really, really started to, research what is paranormal, what could mimic paranormal activity. And that's really how I got into this because it was, I have this experience. I have learned as much as I can. I read everything I could get my hands on. And this was, way before a lot of the most popular ghost shows were on. And I was like, maybe I can use this experience to help other people.
Yeah. Rebecca has a question, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna go off that a little bit. So I said I'm doing an investigation in the basement again, and there's two reasons I want to do that. Because I want that feeling again.
Hmm.
It's been back in the day when I saw a shadow, I got excited.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, sweet, a shadow. Like, hey, a shadow just walked by. Like, I don't care. Like, but I want that feeling again. That's one reason I want to go do solos in the basement, without a
So
flashlight. Without a
years
flashlight.
years and years ago, I did Prospect Place with a group. And one of their things was they said if you sit alone in the basement with the lights off, and they had a chair against the back part of it, and they're like, make sure somebody's at the top of the stairs where the light switch is if you get scared. And if you sit there, you will see shadows start to walk towards you. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it, no problem. And it was so disappointing because I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
But that anticipation of, am I going to see something? Is there something down in this basement with me? That was kind of nerve wracking a little bit, but I made it through the whole experiment. Still didn't see any shadows walking towards me. I was so disappointed.
When you expect it, it doesn't happen. Like, that's just the way it is. I mean, when you're not, that's when you put your guard down. So Rebecca has a
Yeah.
question for both of you. What has been your spookiest encounter investigating the paranormal?
Um, so spooky, different than terrifying, maybe. I think that when anything happens that shouldn't happen, um, can be a little spooky because your logical mind is like, that shouldn't be there. This should not be happening. And your logical mind is trying to rationalize it. And when it can't, then it's like, am I crazy? Is something actually happening? Um, I can tell about my existential crisis that I had in the paranormal world. Okay, so and it's no longer open, unfortunately. But there was in Southern West Virginia a antique store, and we went into this investigation thinking that, okay, so we could have potential activity from the actual antiques that were in the store, many of which were war relics that the owner collected, and also from the location. The location was built atop of an old motel that had some really, really seedy history to it, including a lot of deaths from overdoses and violence and prostitution, all kinds of. It was just a really, really seedy area. So we thought that a lot of the stories that we had heard, we were probably going to get some activity from either one of these. We weren't expecting that the owner himself had a what we call his little friend that followed him. So he was of a Slavic background and had what he called, this familial spirit, which he called the Ovnik. And so when you look up, the lore of the Ovnik, it is a Slavic house spirit, almost like a brownie, but it kind of looks like a slash between. Most often in art, it's drawn like a black cat, um, maybe with a little like monkey aspects thrown in. And so I had been out investigating one of the old hotel rooms that was behind the location with a group of women because we were trying to talk to the lady of the evening that was murdered out there, thinking that girls only, she might talk to us. So we come inside, and one of the members of my team is really, really excited. And he pulls me aside. He's like, Teresa, you've got to check this out. The owner has this monkey thing in the back. And I'm like, what? And I thought he had like a pet monkey like in the office. And I'm like, he had a pet monkey and nobody told me. I want to see the monkey. And he's like, no, it's not a pet monkey. It's this familial spirit. That back in the Slavic countries, it was protective of the family. If you treated it right, it would protect your farm, your granary. But if you made it mad, it would burn it down. So very interesting dichotomous creature. And I'm like, okay, I really want to see it. So the owner's like, okay, so if you want to see it, come in this back room. And everybody else was in the front room and they were telling a story about a haunted object that the owner had. And I was sitting in the back on this antique couch. And he's like, well, kind of look in this area right here and you probably see it like in the mirrors. That's where most people have been seeing it. So I'm sitting on this couch and I kind of feel like something's, jumped up behind me like a cat. And I'm like, that's kind of weird, but it wasn't really strong enough to, be like, oh yeah, that was something. And then a couple of times I thought I saw like a little cat like shadow move in some of these clothing racks. And I was like, well, I'm still not really sure if that was actually something. So the owner finishes telling the story and comes back into the back room where I'm at. And he asks, have you seen it yet? And I'm like, well, no, I've seen a little bit of movement. I felt a little bit movement, but I haven't actually seen this Obnick yet. And he pointed to the office where there was this Rubbermaid tote. And he's like, if you want to see it, it's right there. And so I get up and I start walking towards the office. And I kid you not, it's this big green Rubbermaid tote that just has some stuff in it, that like office supplies, stuff that was getting ready to go out on the floor. And it looks exactly like a black cat is poking his head out of that tote. And I am walking slowly towards it and I can see its little like ears. I can see it's got one little white fang or tooth sticking out, and I'm walking towards it, and it blinks at me. And so I see these green eyes, and then I don't see them, and then I see them even brighter when it opens its eyes. And so I'm getting closer and closer and closer, and we're right there, and I'm staring at this thing, and I know that it's not a cat. He goes to reach for it, and it just swoops out of existence. And so then we start throwing stuff out of that tote, start looking all around the office. And my mind is like, this is not supposed to exist. What was that? This that doesn't that doesn't exist. And I told people about this, and I think a lot of people thought I was crazy until I kid not, every single group that investigated that location saw this thing. And then they finally started believing me that I wasn't like completely crazy. But it really did cause an existential crisis because I can deal with ghosts. Ghosts, we don't know what they are. There might be some scientific explanation for ghosts that we just haven't uncovered yet. I cannot rationalize why this little cat monkey thing with the glowing green eyes just swooped out of existence in front of my face.
There you go, Rebecca. Cat monkey.
Cat monkey. I used to
Mine's
have a big article about it on my website, but I had to take it down because of some issues. But you can still find information about the Obnick online.
Yeah, mine's pretty simple. It's Trans-Allegheny. Again, I was sitting in a hallway. It's dark out. Kept hearing stuff down the hallway. Looked over. Gray ghost came out. One door. Stopped. Looked at me. About 20 feet away. Walked into the other one. That was probably the spookiest. That's the only time like my stomach was like cramped up, and that was like my fight or flight moment I've ever had. Stood up, took a step back, and that's when I said no, and I chased it. Didn't find it, but that was probably my spookiest thing.
So my son's dad had an experience at Trans-Allegheny that turned him from a skeptic to a believer. We were there for an overnight investigation, and it just happened to be that we were on this one wing by ourselves. And it was the wing where the violent women were. And they told us, like, if men have their keys, hanging outside their pocket, they'll often feel something tugging on those keys because, the women would try to steal keys from the orderlies all the time. So he was just kind of joking. He's like, okay, whatever, I'll try it. Well, we're walking down the hallway, and I duck into one of the rooms to kind of look around a little bit. And I'm looking around and, taking pictures in this room. And he keeps going. And I hear, Theresa, stop effing with me. And I poke my head out of the room and I'm like, what are you talking about? What's going on? And he was like, how did you get back there so fast? And I'm like, I've been in here the whole time. What are you talking about? And he swears that somebody, it wasn't just like, the weight of the keys pulling his pants down. He says that he heard footsteps run up behind him, try to grab those keys, pull a couple of times, and just drop them and disappear. And so I mean, I can't speak, because it was his experience, but that it changed him from a skeptic to a believer. He felt that something actually happened.
I think Trans-Allegheny would mostly do that to most people. So I love that place. It's great. All right, so we're going to do a quick, I just came up with this, so you have to bear with me. Rapid questions.
Okay.
So I'll ask you a question. You give me a rapid response. See where we're going. So we're gonna go straight out bucket list place.
Poveglia.
Where's that at? So it's not too
It's
rapid.
at the Italian island where they had the plague victims.
Okay. What piece of equipment do you prefer to use?
Voice recorder.
What do you use for protection?
Nothing.
Great. What's your favorite paranormal show?
MTV's Fear.
Best place paranormal wise in West Virginia?
Hammond House.
I can't read my own writing. Are dolls haunted? Yes or no?
Maybe not haunted. But maybe something attached to them.
Okay. Who's your favorite investigator?
My AGT team.
Oh, kiss butt. No. Crystals, yes or no?
For me personally, no, but yeah, I see people use them and appreciate that.
That's all I got. That's all I came up with so far. So you're just talking. I'm like, oh, maybe we'll do a little rapid. Because I always ask people bucket list and they just freeze. Like, I don't understand why. Like, as a paranormal investigator, you should already have a bucket list of where you want to go.
Exactly.
So I mean,
I'm so open to going anywhere though. I mean within reason. Like there are places that I feel that right now are culturally insensitive to investigate unless there is a real absolute need from somebody experiencing something there. And there are some places that, mentally I think I would really struggle with. It was hard for me to do Trans-Allegheny because especially like on the children's ward, like just knowing, that there were kids there. I mean, that was emotionally draining to me.
let's talk about that real quick. We're almost an hour in here, but it was brought up a couple of my episodes. Children's spirits. A lot of people believe they're just demonic entities portraying themselves as children. And I think the thought of a child, I guess, trapped here or stuck here is too much for people to comprehend.
Yeah, and I agree with that. We don't want to think that any of us could be trapped here, let alone an innocent child. Um, but we don't know how the physics of that works. We don't know, is this, are these child spirits actually the spirits of deceased children? Or is it just, are we tapping into another parallel universe or even another time is time rubbing together and to them we're the ghost. So yeah, I definitely get it's very hard to rationalize why would an innocent child be stuck here against their will.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's, I've even gone to like, because we do Trans-Allegheny psychiatric hospital, a lot of those adults, thought they were kids, still had a childlike mind. So are they portraying themselves as children? And that's what
Exactly.
we're saying. So I don't know.
And kind of on that same vein, that's why we tell people that, if you hear what sounds like a growl, or even, if you think that you get scratched by something, look at it rationally and logically. Maybe these people couldn't speak and growling was the way that they had to communicate. Maybe they're not trying to hurt you. Maybe they're just trying to get your attention, and that's the only way they know how to get your attention.
No, I mean, it makes sense. We talked about it before because all the scratches, people are scared of getting scratched. I've never been scratched, but it could be like they tried other communication and they couldn't get your attention, so they just reached up and you got scratched. I mean,
That's what
People,
we're talking about, because a lot of women, get like tapped on the bottom and stuff during investigations. And I was like, well, what if that's just like a child spirit that's, really short and they're kind of reaching up because, you have, mom energy and they're trying to get your attention. And that's as far as they can reach up is to tap you on the bottom.
I mean, you see it all the time in life. It's like when someone's talking to someone and a kid's next to you and they're trying to get their attention and they're just like, pulling on their shirt or something like,
Yeah.
hey, mom. So, I mean, it is possible. Again, I believe 90% plus are just decent spirits that want to communicate with us. That's what I've gotten out of my 20 years of doing this.
Exactly. And, I realize that people who are jerks in life will often be jerks in death too. But I mean, most of the stuff I've never really, like I said, I've never really encountered anything that I was like, that's very malevolent, that's trying to hurt me.
Have you ever run into demonic?
Um, so I don't think so. I've never had anything that I considered to be demonic. Um, I I don't follow a religious belief system though that really has a lot of room for demonic entities. But I do believe in good and evil. And I've had the closest experience I think that I've had was there was a um I was a member way back when of like a paranormal forum or message board, and one of the members was experiencing some things. And so I was on a group call with them, and there was some weird stuff going on in that, in the background. Like they recorded it and there was like growling and stuff going on. Anytime we tried to help this person, like something would happen, like the phone would go dead or, something crazy like that. But I mean, I've gone out and done this so many times and I've never encountered what I thought was demonic.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's way few and far in between. Again, you're going to run into evil or asshole spirits more than evil demonic. I mean, again, religious wise, there's angels, there has to be demons, blah, 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 all that stuff. So if you believe in that, but yeah, I think you're going to run into more, I guess, just bad spirits. But then you're going to run into, then you go into entities that were not human that could just be a
And
bad entity.
there have been locations that we've been to where I think that we have dealt with what we would probably maybe call an elemental spirit or nature spirit that transcends, our human constructs of good and evil. Um, at the same place where the Omnic was, that land that location was on, we saw some things in the woods behind the area that we couldn't confirm what they were. We had really what looked like it was the shadow that kind of like was serpentine almost, and it kind of like slithered along the wall and the ceiling. And to me, that wasn't necessarily like an evil demonic entity or anything. It was more of like the psychic sludge of all the horrible things that had happened on that land, kind of coming together and almost gaining sentience. But maybe I've just been really lucky that I've never, but I kind of feel like, something that's truly demonic has bigger fish to fry than, messing with ghost hunters on a daily basis.
I mean, but think about this. If, like, because people are like scared, evil spirits, something slithering up a wall. If you were, I guess, a ghost and you wanted to scare people and you could do that for the fun of it, would you do it?
Oh, I would. I would definitely try to
Yeah.
make people think I was a demonic experience.
Yeah. I mean, so why can't they? I mean, I have a friend that is terrified of ghosts because he had so much experiences when he was younger that he's getting messed with. And I told him, like, are they bad? He's like, oh, they're definitely evil. Would you do that if you were died? He's like, oh yeah, definitely. I'm like, so what makes them bad? They're just messing with you. We could be wrong. They could be terrible terrible spirits, but You don't know. I mean, they could just be like, yeah, I'm going to have fun.
I mean, they definitely have a sense of humor because I mean, we've heard disembodied laughter when we've like been telling jokes. We've heard laughter coming over the spirit box. I mean, we've had stuff that I mean, it's just completely off the wall. Like trying to chime in with us, and so they have a sense of humor.
Yeah, I've heard that last few podcasts. We talked about that. Never really thought about like sense of humor with spirits, but they'll just sit around and like have a good time, and then they'll get that over the spirit box laughing or joking. So we always forget, like, because we always go in there with the same stupid questions, asking the same thing the last group did. Like, just sit back and have a good time, and I think you'll get more responses. That's
That
me.
we've got the best responses, just not even addressing them, personally, just talking amongst ourselves and talking about what's going on in the location, and they want to chime in too and have a good time.
Yeah, Nacho says the multiverse. That's always a big discussion right now. Different
Yeah.
dimensions. We will never know, ever. What else we got going on here? Ooh, toward the end of the show, I'm gonna get stuck here. Let's talk Native Americans.
Okay.
For some odd reason, scare the crap out of me. Native American hauntings scare, and I tell people this, and they think I'm crazy because I am, my religious beliefs. But I would rather investigate a demonic place than Native Americans. I don't know why.
So we are actually a lot of places that we've investigated have been the site of Native American activity. Just like Ohio, West Virginia has a lot of burial mounds and things like that nature. But we also have a couple of places where massacres have happened on white settlers. Like Shawnee is a big one. The Graham House in Lowell, West Virginia, which we will be visiting on December 6th for a public investigation. So if anybody wants to join us December 6th. But the Graham House, there, was a Native American attack. Um, Several people were killed. One of the young daughters was taken hostage. She did finally make it back to her family. Um, but oddly enough, she wanted that native lifestyle back and she tried to run away a couple of times. But the last time that we were there, um, and the group actually investigated a couple weeks before that. Wasn't able to come to that investigation, but on the property where this attack happened is it's a replica schoolhouse, an old fashioned one room schoolhouse. But while they were in the schoolhouse, everybody that was in there saw these lights flashing and things going around outside the windows, like somebody was coming up, almost like casing the joint, to attack them. And then a couple weeks later, when we were there for the public, I was there and I was walking from the main house out to the schoolhouse, and I saw what I swore and I could only see like the bottom part of it, but a black horse like riding through the field, and I could see and what I assumed was a Native American riding him. I couldn't see anything above the horse's saddle, but I could see this person's legs and their feet. And I was like, "What the heck is that?" Um, so we have a lot of Native American hauntings, I guess, in West Virginia as well. And there is kind of almost, I don't know if I would consider it scary to me, but it's like, it's this reverence, like, should we really be investigating these places? Is this exploitation? This has never really been our land. I mean, we kind of came in and took things. Are we doing the same thing by investigating these locations?
Yeah, I think that's what makes me nervous about it. Is it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I mean, plus they have like skinwalkers and all that. I don't want. I don't want. I don't want to deal with that stuff.
Well, I don't know if it's made it to Ohio yet, but West Virginia, we have the knot deer, and they're kind of they're being lumped into that skinwalker category now. But yeah,
So is Bigfoot real?
is Bigfoot real? I think that Bigfoot's probably real. I'm not. I like to research historical accounts of Bigfoot. I do not like to go out in the woods and hunt Bigfoot myself, though.
I'm trying. I'm going next year, but with a group that knows what they're doing, not me. How about myself? I'm just rambling questions. Bigfoot, a species or an alien? 'Cause that's one of the topics now.
So I kind of follow the belief system, and it kind of goes against popular opinion. I know a lot of people think that Bigfoot is just a flesh and blood animal creature that, is just an undiscovered species. I think there's probably a little bit more woo to the Bigfoots because I have had encounters, and not even deep in the woods, just kind of slightly into the woods, where I think that something, maybe a Bigfoot. I was in a Bigfoot popular area. Um, I had just had a really bad morning. I had been in a therapy session, was kind of working through some stuff, and to kind of like relax afterwards, I was like, "Well, I'm going to go to the state forest and kind of relax in nature and read a book." And so I was getting ready to pack up. I'd been sitting at this picnic table, and I noticed that there was trash all around. So I picked up and threw this trash away before I left. And I heard what sounded like a very, very deep man's voice say, "Thank you." And I thought a park ranger had, come up behind me or something. And I'm like, "Oh, well, you're welcome." And there was nobody there. And then I got that image in my mind of a Bigfoot. And I was like, did he just use mind speak on me? Is there an actual Bigfoot here? Um, but like I said, at the beginning in West Virginia, all of us, paranormal investigators and researchers, we kind of hang out with each other and know each other because there is an overlap with the Bigfoot, with the rest of the cryptids, with even UFOs and that kind of thing. Um, there is this huge overlap for some reason. And I kind of feel like maybe there's something bigger than what we understand right now, and maybe Bigfoot, what we perceive when we see it, is how they want us to perceive. Like,
Yeah.
they're letting us see what we think that we should be seeing.
So Nacho, Native Americans have been treated so horribly by the white man, had their land taken away, destroyed. They took care of it, and we didn't. I agree. It's something that I am not messing with. Yeah, I don't know if it's a respect thing too, besides a little scary thing, I guess. But again, let's go back to Bigfoot and Native Americans. Native Americans had more of a communication with Bigfoot.
Exactly. They understood what Bigfoot was, to the best of their ability. But yeah, they had that respect for Bigfoot. They considered him, just as much as, a part of them, just like nature was. He was their brother. Um, so there was definitely much more respect there with Bigfoot.
Do
And
you
go ahead.
uh, do you think this came up? 'Cause I had a Bigfoot group on a couple of weeks ago, and crossed my mind. Do you think like Bigfoot sat back and watched the way we treated the Native Americans? Maybe that's why they're hiding so much.
Oh, I think that's absolutely possible. Um, yeah.
I mean, would you? I mean,
I mean, if I saw a bunch, especially I mean these days, because why do we go into the woods for the most part? We go there to hunt,
yeah,
and you know, not everybody hunts ethically. Not everybody, hunts, to provide for their family, to use the entire animal, to give that animal thanks when they harvest it. So I would be kind of scared if I was Bigfoot.
no, it just came across my mind when we were talking about it. Like I
Yeah.
would, I'd be hiding too. I mean,
Or we go into the woods to cut down trees and build factories and stuff.
as paranormal investigators, what do? We go investigate places that they're not people there. So, I mean, Yeah, I mean, we would hide too. I mean, we hide now. What's LBL?
Oh, so LBL is a location called Land Between the Lakes. And it is very popular for, there's a couple Bigfoot sightings, but definitely known for its dogman sightings. Um, Appalachian Ghost Tours, that's on our bucket list, is we would like to visit the LBL one of these days.
All right, Chupacabra, real quick. Myth or true?
I'm gonna go with myth, even though, there's supposed to have been mountain monsters like right near my house. Apparently said that there was a chupacabra that was acting as a pet for a Bigfoot, like, right down a couple miles from where I live. But
No, I mean, it was, I mean, that's the most recent, I guess you can say, that's have come up. Was in the 80s it came up.
yeah, and it's interesting to see how it evolved. Like, the spiny, weird little creature from South and Central America and Mexico. Then it came up to Texas, and everybody thought that the hairless dogs that they were finding were the chupacabra.
I mean, it's
Like that
Puerto
makes,
Rico. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
somehow it jumped from Puerto Rico to Texas, but no,
Yeah, and how do you end up in West Virginia? I mean, that
to me,
was
it sounds like a mom made it up to keep her kids inside at night.
that makes sense.
I
And
have a
that goes
friend
back to
I have a friend that grew up in Puerto Rico, and they were terrified of the chupacabra. They would not go out at night. They lived in the
well,
mountains of Puerto Rico. I'm like, I
so
think your mom.
the thing that's in Puerto Rico, maybe that's real because that is a completely different thing that they were seeing like in Texas. And then yeah, that thing that they were saying that was in Putnam County, that was like a pet chupacabra to a Bigfoot. Yeah, that's absolutely
Yeah, but as a 10-year-old, are you going to take that chance?
See,
No.
I wouldn't because I would think that that was true. That's the
No.
thing about West Virginia folklore too. A lot of our ghost stories were not only, to keep the kids in line, but also, back in Prohibition when everybody's had, uncle had a moonshine still out in the woods. That was to, keep people from going out and finding your moonshine still.
I think every folklore has some truth to it. I mean, it starts somewhere, right? I mean, I
Yeah,
think
and there's
everything,
always a grade of truth.
I mean, we exaggerate the truth a lot. That's what we do as humans. So I think it starts somewhere. I mean, you go to like Stephen King, it, Dairy, that's a little bit based off a true story.
Yeah. If you
So, I
look
mean,
hard enough, you're always going to find that little kernel in there somewhere.
yeah, that might be 2% truth, but he just exaggerates a franchise movie. So, I mean, no, I think
And
everything has,
that is part of our cultural zeitgeist is, the whole Pennywise and Dairy universe.
yeah. I mean, it's cool that everything has some sort of truth. We're trying out now to go out there and actually find the truth, which has probably been exaggerated so much that we never will.
Yeah.
But all right, so we're hour 18 minutes in. I try to keep this around an hour. Never happens. Does anybody have any questions for Theresa? Seems like most of the people on here are your friends. Since you do a lot of history, I'm going to email you later, probably next couple of days. There's a lady who owns a place, and she's trying to find some stuff about one of the residents there from back in the day. And I've been looking, I cannot find it. So
Yeah.
if you don't want to do it, that's fine. It's in Ohio, but
Oh, that's fine. Send me the information. I'll see what I can find.
okay. The place is silent. What are your big plans next year? We'll end with this.
So next year I will be having my first book come out called West Virginia Cemetery Legends. And it's going to be all about haunted cemeteries, cemetery related folklore, urban legends, and the hard hitting question of are cemeteries actually haunted or not? As far as AGT goes, we have usually a public investigation at least once a month. Like I said, our last one of this year is going to be at the Graham House in Lowell, West Virginia. That's going to be December 6th. Somebody in the group here can correct me if I'm wrong. Our first one of next year is going to be January 10th, and that's the Litz Mansion in Tazewell, Virginia. And we'll have like a big overnight. You can rent a room at the Tazewell Mansion. This is the first time this mansion, pre-Civil War era, has ever been investigated before. So that one's going to be a lot of fun. Our big event that we have coming up the first weekend of June, so June 6th, we are going to have another Haunt Fest. It's going to be in Sutton, West Virginia. And so that's the home of the Flatwoods Monster Museum, the West Virginia Bigfoot Museum, lots of haunted locations. We're going to have speakers, workshops, investigations of some of the haunted places. The Heyman House is in Sutton. It's going to be open for us, working with us. We're really excited about that event.
All right, so we got 2 questions. It's from your tour place. What's your favorite place we've investigated?
I don't know that, because every time somebody asks me that, it's like, who's your favorite child? But I really like the Graham House. I think that one is a very interesting house. That's where the Native American massacre happened, and it's West Virginia's oldest log cabin. Was built before West Virginia was a state, before the United States was a country. So extremely old, lot of history there.
Yeah, it's weird because it's hard to pick your favorite place because every place has something different.
Yeah.
A different feeling. So Nacho asks, where can we get a collab with Verona Ghostbusters and Trap Souls with Theresa?
Yeah, so I absolutely love working with other teams. You can always send me a message on my Facebook page, Teresa's Haunted History of the Tri-State. My personal name is Theresa Racer Cheshire on Facebook. You're, welcome to send me a friend request. And you can also find me at Appalachian Ghost Tours. We have a Facebook, TikTok. I have a TikTok, all that stuff too. We're under all the social medias. So either Teresa's Haunted History or Appalachian Ghost Tours.
Have you been to Moundsville? I'm going to assume you have.
Yep.
Good.
Moundsville is great.
Great. Because we talked about briefly West Virginia Paranormal Girl, Devin. We talked about trying to do that sometime. Go down there. So
yeah, that'd be neat. We'd definitely be able to do that.
Maybe we get all of us together down there sometime. You down with that, Nacho? But yeah, I work with Nacho on a couple other podcasts, so
awesome.
He's good investigator. But, all right, so we're going to wrap this up. Hour 22. Again, appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
It was good talking to you. A lot of, like I always say, always more questions than answers, but that's fine. That's why we're here. But definitely check out Theresa on Facebook. You guys have YouTube? I'm guessing.
Yes, we do have a YouTube channel. I don't think we have any videos on the AGT YouTube channel yet, but you can find us on there. You can find me on YouTube. I've got a few little short videos.
Yeah, and next year, check out her book, West Virginia Cemetery Legends. I'm sure she'll be dropping that on social media when it comes out, so you can go get that. Again, if you ever come up with new stuff, anything you want to talk about, drop me an email, come back on the show, and hopefully we can get together sometime, do an investigation.
Yeah,
again,
absolutely.
Nice meeting you. I always say this, I hate any of this, but I'm just going to hit end stream and see where it goes from there.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.